There is a reason we have told stories around fires in the dark for 10,000 years. The woods at night have never been safe. Not truly. No matter how many times you have camped. No matter how well you know the trail. Because the woods do not care how well you know them. They were there before you. They will be there long after. And sometimes, in a cabin at 2 in the morning, when the fire has gone low and the nearest town is 40 minutes away, and your phone shows 1 bar of signal, something reminds you of that. These 3 people know exactly what that reminder feels like. They went to the woods for peace. The woods had other ideas. Story number 1. The footprints. My husband and I have been going to the same rental cabin in northern Michigan every October for 7 years. It is our tradition. A long weekend away from the city, from work, from everything. No agenda. No schedule. Just the trees and the lake and 2 people who need to remember why they chose each other. The cabin sits on a private road. The nearest neighbor is a mile away. The nearest town is 38 minutes. There is no cell signal on the property. There is a landline inside that connects to the property management company and to emergency services. We have never needed it. Until the 5th year. We arrived on a Friday evening, unpacked, made dinner, lit a fire in the stone fireplace and sat with wine and talked. The way we cannot talk at home because there is always something else. At around 11 we went to bed. I woke at 2:47 in the morning. Not gradually. Instantly. As if something had switched me on. I lay in the dark and listened. The cabin makes sounds at night. 7 years of Octobers taught me every one. The roof settling in the cold. The lake wind moving through the pines. The particular creak of the front porch boards when the temperature drops. What I was hearing was none of those things. Someone was walking around the outside of the cabin. Slow, deliberate footsteps on the gravel path that circles the building. Crunching. Steady. Not hurrying. The walk of someone who was comfortable being there. The walk of someone who had done this before. I put my hand on my husband's arm. He was already awake. He had been lying there in the dark listening. He looked at me and put 1 finger to his lips. The footsteps completed a full circuit of the cabin. Then they stopped. At the front door. We lay completely still. The bedroom door was closed but not locked. There was no lock on the interior doors. There was a bolt on the front door. My husband had bolted it before we went to bed. I had watched him do it. I found myself reconstructing that memory in absolute detail. The sound it made, the firmness of it. The way you reconstruct something when it is the only thing standing between you and whatever is on the other side of it. Nothing happened for a long time. Then the footsteps moved away. Back down the gravel path. Into the trees. The sound faded until there was nothing but the wind. My husband got up. He checked every window and door. All locked. All secure. He looked out of every window into the dark. Nothing. In the morning we found the gravel path. And we found the footprints. Large. Deep-heeled. Made by work boots. 1 complete circuit of the cabin. Starting and ending at the front door. We called the property management company. They said they had no record of any maintenance or grounds work scheduled for that weekend. They said the property had not been accessed by anyone on their staff. We packed up that morning and drove home. We have not been back to that cabin. 7 years of Octobers. We ended them because of one night. Because of footsteps on gravel that completed 1 full circle. And stopped at our door. My husband still checks the bolt every night before bed. At home. In the city. Every single night. He has done it every night since. Story number 2. The figure in the trees. I want to be clear that I am not someone who believes in the paranormal. I am a structural engineer. My entire professional life is built on what can be measured, calculated, and proven. I tell you that because what I am about to describe. I have spent 4 years trying to give a rational explanation. I have not found one. 3 friends and I rented a cabin in the Smoky Mountains for a long weekend in July. 4 men in our mid-30s. Old college friends who see each other twice a year if we are lucky. The cabin was a 2-story rental, well-maintained, fully stocked. It sat in a clearing about a quarter mile from the nearest road. A gravel track connected it to the world. On the second night, Saturday, we stayed up late on the back porch. Drinks. Fire pit. The kind of conversation that only happens when 4 old friends have nowhere to be the next morning. By 1 a.m., 2 of the others had gone to bed. It was just me and my friend Marcus left by the fire. Marcus saw it first. He went quiet mid-sentence. I noticed his eyes move to the tree line, about 60 feet from the porch. The tree line where the clearing ended and the woods began. He said very quietly, "There is someone standing in the trees." I looked. There was a figure, standing just inside the tree line, completely still. I could not make out any detail in the dark, but the shape was unmistakably human. Standing upright, facing the porch, facing us. Neither of us moved for a moment. I called out, "Hello? Can we help you?" Nothing. The figure did not move, did not respond, did not acknowledge us in any way. Just stood there, watching. Marcus stood up. He picked up the large flashlight we kept by the back door and pointed it at the tree line. There was nothing there. Not gone. Not fled. Just nothing. No movement. No crashing through undergrowth. No sound. One moment there was a figure. The moment the light hit the tree line, there was only trees. We stood on that porch for a long time, neither of us speaking. Then we went inside and locked the door. We woke the others. We told them what we had seen. My friend Joe, the skeptic of our group, the one most like me, in his insistence on rational explanations, said it had been a deer, or a shadow, or our eyes playing tricks. After too many hours by a fire, Marcus and I did not argue with him. But we both knew what a deer looks like in the dark. We both knew what a shadow is. We both knew what our eyes look like when they are playing tricks. What we saw was standing upright. It was the height of a man. And when the light came on, it did not run. It simply was not there anymore. I am a structural engineer. I deal in what can be proven. I cannot prove what we saw. I also cannot explain it away. And I have tried. God help me, I have tried. Story number 3. The Crying in the Snow. Warning: the most disturbing story in the series. I have debated whether to tell this story for 3 years. Not because I do not believe it happened. I know it happened. Because I am afraid of what it means that it happened. And I am afraid that saying it out loud makes it more real than I have allowed it to be. But here it is. I was alone in a cabin in rural Vermont. Late November. The kind of cold that is serious. I had gone alone intentionally, a riding retreat. 5 days. Just me, my laptop, and the kind of silence you cannot find anywhere near a city. The cabin was the most remote I had ever rented. No neighbors visible from the property. No road noise. Signal was available if I stood in a specific spot on the east side of the porch and held my phone at a specific angle. I had learned this on the first day. By the third day, I had stopped trying to reach the outside world. That is what I had come for. The silence was working. I was writing better than I had in years. On the fourth night, I woke at 3 in the morning. There was a child crying outside the cabin. I sat up immediately. The sound was unmistakable. A child. Young. Maybe 4 or 5 years old. Crying the way a child cries when they are lost. Not a tantrum, not pain, the specific broken sound of a small person who does not know where they are and cannot find anyone who knows them. It was 3 in the morning. I was miles from the nearest house. It was 22 degrees outside. I got out of bed. I want to explain what happened next carefully, because it is the part that I have thought about most. I got to the cabin door. I had my hand on the bolt. And I stopped. Something stopped me. Not fear of the dark. Not cold. Something older and more specific than either of those things. A feeling that I can only describe as, do not open this door. Not, there is nothing out there. Not, you are imagining it. The crying was absolutely real. I was not imagining it. I stood at that door and heard it clearly. But something in me, something below thought, below language, below anything I can name, said, do not open this door. I stood at the bolt for a long time. The crying continued. It did not move closer. It did not move farther away. It stayed at exactly the same distance. The same volume. Constant. For 11 minutes. I know it was 11 minutes because I was watching the clock on my phone. The entire time. Standing at the door. My hand on the bolt. Not opening it. At the end of 11 minutes, the crying stopped. Completely. Between 1 second and the next. As if a switch had been thrown. I stood at the door for another 10 minutes. Silence. Complete silence. Then I went back to bed and did not sleep. In the morning I went outside. There were no footprints in the snow. Not from a child. Not from anyone. The snow around the cabin was undisturbed. Perfect. Untouched. There had been no child. Nothing that moved on 2 legs had been anywhere near that cabin. I drove home that morning. 4 hours with the radio on at full volume. And both hands on the wheel. And my mind doing something I could not stop. Going back to that door. Going back to the bolt in my hand. Going back to the feeling that said, do not open this. I have researched it. There are animals that can produce sounds resembling a human child. Foxes. Certain birds. I am aware of this. What I heard for 11 minutes at 3 in the morning, in 22 degrees of November silence, was not a fox. And whatever it was, it left no tracks. I have never rented a remote cabin again. I never will. We go to the woods to escape. From noise. From screens. From the particular exhaustion of being surrounded by people every hour of every day. The woods offer quiet. And they do deliver it. But quiet is not the same as safe. A footprint on gravel that has no explanation. A figure in the trees that vanishes when the light finds it. A sound in the snow that leaves no trace. The 3 people in tonight's stories went looking for peace. They found something else waiting for them. Something that did not announce itself. Something that did not threaten them directly. Something that simply let them know they were not alone out there. They never were. Thank you for listening. If something happened to you in the woods, in a cabin, on a trail, at a campsite, I want to hear it. Comment it. I read every one. News stories. Subscribe so you never miss them. And if you are planning a cabin trip this weekend, check the bolt. Check it twice.